Hey guys, what is going on? My name is JL Creamy, and guys, today I'm back with a new video. No, I haven't been on for a while. I haven't posted a video in a long time. For that, I do apologize. I've just been busy with life, and I've had other things that I've been doing, and especially being a beginning content creator, it's not been a big priority. But anyways, we're here with Cod Mobile, right? And if you play Cod Mobile multiplayer, you probably actually have a couple classes to use for basically everything. I want to do something a little different instead of making like 10 versions of the same meta build that a bunch of people use. I built 10 classes where every single one has like an actual job. So some are made specifically for rushing, for range control, for streaks, objectives. Some is used to counter exactly what the other team is doing, stuff like that. And I didn't just throw random attachments on these either. No, I went through the damage, the ranges, the time to kill, recoil, mobility, perks, equipment, all of it. And then I tested the builds in game. So I'm gonna actually show you all 10, explain why I built each one the way I did, and when I used them. So, starting off with class 1, we have the VMP, and this is basically my pure aggression class. The entire point of this build is to let me stay moving, get into close range fights, and kill as quickly as possible without turning the weapon into something that becomes, something super uncontrollable the second somebody gets a little further away. Now, for the attachments, I am running heavy barrel, band adjustable pad, heavy handle, fast extended mag, and rapid fire. And rapid fire is probably the most important part of the actual build. And I'm not just looking at the attachments based on whether the stat screen turns green. My bad. What I actually care about is whether like an attachment actually changes how fast somebody dies, and if I'm spinning an attachment slot, I want it doing something that matters in a gunfight. But this is where rapid fire matters, right? And with it equipped, it can put down about a 4-shot kill in about 186 milliseconds. If it takes 5, we're at about 248, and 6 is around 310. Heavy barrel is actually what keeps those numbers, useful outside of the point blank range. We're getting roughly 40% more damage range, better bullet velocity, and recoil control. And put everything together, and I'm looking at a consistent 4 shot to about 13 meters, 5 to 21, and then 6 out to 32 meters. Um, but that's why I'm spinning the attachment slots on rapid fire and heavy barrel. It's not there just to make it look better. They're actually affecting how the weapon is being used. The heavy handle helps me control that fire rate, so it's not going crazy with the vertical recoil. The bandit adjustable pad keeps the gun, helps me stay aggressive, and the fast extended mag gives me a full 52 round mag. Especially with the class like this, you don't want to get in a gunfight, kill 1 or 2 people, and then reload. No, you want to be able to kill 1, 2, 3, even possibly 4 people if it really comes to it. So I'm also using the spear as my secondary. This is the movement heavy class. So if I'm rotating or need something immediate up close, like I don't need another gun. The rest of the class is built pretty much around entire like survivability. And it keeps the aggression going. I've got restock so I can keep using my stims and my impact grenades. Quick fix gives me the immediate health regen after a kill. Stim again is like if I take a fight and I don't kill them and I need to run back, well, I can stim up. They're thinking I'm at like 20 or 10 HP. Actually, I'm back at 100. They pop out and boom, I kill them. Right. I've also got alert to track enemies around me. Dauntless is to reduce the movement impairing effects, and Vulture is to help regain my ammo and health because you get about 40% health every time you pick up one of those ammo packs. Uh, Dead silence is also used to make it harder for people to figure out where I'm pushing from. My lethal's impact grenade. I'm using Hive. Real quick disclaimer, I said Hive because I thought I was actually using Hive during this point. No, I switched between Hive and Equalizer. Uh, Hive, again, just helps me control areas, but during this point, I was using Equalizer just so I can hit, the simple bang shots, wall shots, and, ricochet shots, all that sort of stuff. So, again, I apologize, but let's get back into the video. Because I like to be able to control certain areas of the map, especially areas that I don't have to watch, right? Um, so everything in this class is serving pretty much the same purpose. Keep moving, recover, keep my resources up, and taking fights. And this is the class I would pull out if I want to start, pushing people and actually dictate the pace of the match. So, hopping into class 2. For class 2, we're moving over to the USS-9, and compared to the VMP from class 1, this gun gets its kills completely different. The VMP actually relies on fire rate, while the USS-9 fires at about 600 rounds per minute, but it makes up with that by hitting extremely hard. The centerpiece of this build is the 41A 32 round mag. It gives us about 25% more damage range. It increases our lower torso multiplier by about 1.1% and our headshot multiplier to 1.5, and that which makes the makes it way more consistent when we're going for that 3-shot kill. Now, because we're firing at 600 RPM, every shot is about 100 milliseconds apart. So if we land, let's say, a 3-shot, that's a 200 millisecond kill. 4-shot takes about 300, 5, 400, etc. But I'm not building this thing for close range. I'm stacking the 41 with the FSS carbine and mono suppress because altogether those three attachments increase our effective range by roughly 85%. That's what makes this class like super nasty. I'm getting, SMG handling and a 200 millisecond 3-shot kill, but I built it to carry, that lethality much farther than you'd normally expect from, an SMG. Now the standard issue woodstock helps me play around that slower fire rate by giving me more control, and granulated grip tape helps me clean up the accuracy, especially important because the 41 mag itself gives us a 25% ADS bullet spread penalty. Now, there is one major trade-off. It is 32 rounds, so unlike the VMP where it's 52, I can't just sit there and dump mags into people or rounds into people. I've gotta actually hit them, and that's where accuracy matters with this weapon. If I'm hitting these shots, then 32 rounds is actually super plenty. But if I'm missing, it kind of punishes me for it as well. So with class 1 being our pure aggressive, class 2 is still pretty aggressive, but it's much more precision based, and you can definitely fight at a distance, like even ARs are able to fight at, you know 3-shot hit, get the kill, maybe even 4, reposition, take the next fight. So that's class number 2. Class 3, right? Ooh, which guy? Moving to class 3, we have the Oden. This is where we're actually slowing things down quite a bit. Now, the first two classes were built around aggression and getting into people's faces. The Oden is different. This is my heavy hitting AR class. I'm giving up the fire rate pretty much in exchange for being able to, punish somebody when my shots land. Now, for the attachments, I am running monolithic suppressor, mid light barrel, short, YKM light stock, operator foregrip, and granulated grip tape. And the biggest thing you need to understand about the Oden is its damage profile, right? So we're already starting at a 48 damage, dropping to 45, and eventually 36. And the fire rate is only about 414 rounds per minute. That fire rate actually sounds like a pretty huge disadvantage, and if you're missing, it really is. There's been times where I miss and I get absolutely bodied, but the Odin makes up for it with its body multipliers. So the upper chest gets at 1.2 times multiplier, and headshots get at 1.5. So when I'm accurate with this, I can create a 2-shot combo that you know most rifles simply can't compete with. If we both start firing at the same time, I'd kill them first if I'm landing that upper chest shot compared to where they would kill me. And, that's the monster behind this build. I'm not turning the Odin into an SMG. I'm trying to fix, some of the weaknesses that I can actually take advantage of. And that's ridiculous damage without making the gun super slow. Now, that's why I'm using mono suppress for suppression and additional range, while MIP light barrel, short, and white KM light stock help bring, my mobility back. Light stock specifically improves my ADS movement speed, so I'm not forced to, sit there, stand still, try to challenge somebody. Now I've got the operator foregrip to help with the recoil and granulated grip tape to help tighten up my accuracy, and that's important because with a weapon like this that's fire so slow, a missed shot can really screw things up. Now, going into the COD wiki and Reddit, there's actually multiple Odin players that are running the same, general combo, and for that exact balance between mobility, recoil, and accuracy. So the way I play this class is completely different from classes 1 and 2, and it's again different from the way that you guys would probably build the old Odin as well. I'm still moving, I'm still, taking fights, but I'm not blindly flying into everybody. I'm trying to catch people at that close to mid-range fights, and because that's where those 2-shot high damage shot matters if I get the upper torso. Now I'm running the spear again. I need to be able to hit points faster, run to points faster, and hold those points, hold those objectives. I'm using the hive again for, the area denial, so I don't have to watch certain points. And going back into the the USS 9 class, these three perks are, or these six perks are pretty much all generally the same. They're all based around survivability. Um, so that's what's super, super important, especially since we're running trophy system on the Oden. Is mainly used to hold certain points and certain objectives and then push to the next area, get kills, push to the next area, get kills. You're not only sitting stationary with this weapon. So hopping into class 4, this is where we get into our first LMG, and this is actually the PKM. Now, I know what you're probably thinking when you see the attachments. Why are you putting stock and mobility attachments on an LMG? Well, that's because the biggest problem isn't the ability to actually kill people. It's getting this giant thing ready to actually shoot somebody, right? So the PKM fires at about 632 rounds per minute, and it starts at 33 damage. It also gets a 1.07 times multiplier to the upper torso and arm. So if I'm landing those upper body shots, this thing has legitimate 3-shot potential. And at this fire rate, a 3-shot kill is roughly 190 milliseconds. 4 shots around 285, and 5 is around 380. So again, the lethality and the damage is really something I'm trying to fix. That's why I'm running MIP light stock, no stock, OWC tactical laser, snatch foregrip, and granulated grip tape. I'm pretty much basically taking an LMG with ridiculous sustained fire capability and trying to remove as much of the traditional LMG, slowness that I can. So snatch foregrips is basically, probably my favorite part of this because it does two things actually one at the same time. It cuts ADS by 5% and vertical recoil by 8.4. So instead of choosing between making the PKM faster or easier to control, I'm actually getting both. So then no stock and MIP light push the mobility side harder, with tactical laser and granulated helping keep the gun accurate enough that I haven't completely destroyed what makes a PKM good in the first place, right? And then there's the biggest advantage. I have a 100 round belt, right? So this isn't like the USS 9 where I've got 32 or the VMP where I have 52. No, this thing has 100. So if there's, 3 people that push me, I don't have to stop after the first kill. I can keep firing, go to the next person, go to the next person, hold a doorway, suppress an objective, all of that without reloading, all in just one belt, right? Now, the downside of this weapon is reloading. Uh, it's about 6 seconds. So reloading at the wrong time can absolutely get you killed. Now, that's another reason I'm not treating this like some stationary LMG class. I'm using the massive magazine to choose when I want to reload instead of like constantly needing to reload after every engagement. Now, for the rest of the class, I'm running Dauntless, Quick Fix, and Alert, and then Perk Booster gives me Restock, Ghost, Tactical Mask, right? Again, we're actually flipping this because we decided to go with Restock. So another disclaimer again, I ended up flipping it. I just took a screenshot of what I had in the class previously, but I flipped it. I think Restock deserves to be first rather than Dauntless because you're going to be using that trophy. You're going to constantly be throwing it and you're going to be needing it over and over and over. So again, I apologize. That was my screw up. So let's get back to the video. First, because of that trophy system, especially if we were holding objectives, if people decide to start throwing things at me, well, I already have restock, so I'm already being able to get new trophy systems. So again, quick fix, we've already gone over it. It helps me recover health between kills. Ghost helps keep me off the UAVs, and Tac Mass actually helps me against the tacticals. Dauntless helps me against movement effects. Again, restock helps me get my equipment back, which that's important with this weapon. But yeah, it's super intentional. All of these perks all have a reason of why they're being used. And again, we're using the Hive. The Hive gives me another layer of area control. Same thing with the other classes. I don't have to watch these certain areas. All I got to do is use the Hive, block off an area, and then I don't even have to worry about it. So, but yeah. So if class 4 is basically my answer to the question. And what happens if I take the sustained fire rate of an LMG, but build as much, I take as much of the slowness out of it that I can. So hopping to class 5, we're actually getting into our first sniper, and this is one of the weirder builds in my loadout, and it's the Rytec AMR. I love this. If you guys don't know this YouTuber, his name is Hummus Thunder, and he made an AK-50 class on Modern Warfare 3 that was crazy overpowered, right? I loved it. Now, when you normally think of the Rytec, you normally think of a big, heavy sniper, slow ADS, slow movement, sit somewhere, hold an angle. But I decided to take the idea and flip it, and that video really inspired me. Now, the reason I'm comfortable dumping this much into mobility is because I don't need attachments to make this Rytec hit hard. This thing already does that. And, its first damage range, we're looking at 80 base damage, and that becomes 104 to the stomach, 120 to the upper torso and arms, and 160 to the head. So chest, arms, head are all giving me that one shot kill, and that's exactly what I tested myself. At 40 meters, I was getting 120 upper torso, 140 around the waist, and 80 to the leg. So I'm not building this thing around increasing damage. I already have the damage I need. And instead of almost every attachment trying to solve the Rytech's real problem, about it being slow, short barrel, skeleton stock, tactical laser, stippled all leading into handling. Stippled alone gives me about 5% ADS and 50% less sprint to fire delay. And tactical laser gives me another 3% ADS improvement and another 1.5% off sprint to fire. Skeleton stock gives me 50% more ADS movement speed. Now I'm paying for that. And skeleton stock increases flinch and recoil, and stippled adds even more flinch and recoil. This is not supposed to be some perfectly stable sniper I sit and spawn with. That's exactly why I'm running toughness as my green perk. I'm, intentionally accepting more hit flinch to make the gun faster, and toughness is used to actually compensate for that. Now, the 3x scope is another deliberate choice, right? Um, I went, I want enough magnification to place that one shot without feeling like I'm looking through like a telescope through an actual sniper. When even especially if someone appears 20 or 10 meters away. Now, the rest of the class keeps fitting into that aggressive sniper playstyle. Restock keeps my stim and impact grenades coming back. Quick fix gives me, the healing after kills. Stim helps me recover if I don't get it. You know, so again, everything has a reason of why I have it on this class, especially agile. It fits here because it gets the weapon up ready. It gets the weapon ready up a lot faster than without it. And uh alert helps me know what's happening around me. Death silence makes it hard for somebody here where I'm maybe repositioning. And hive again, we already know why I'm using it. So this isn't some sit in the back sniper class that you camp in the spawn with. No, I hate people that sit in the back and camp in the spawn. It irritates me. This is pretty much me taking a weapon that already has enough damage to one shot somebody and spending almost the entire build trying to make the weapon keep up with how I move. Also, big note that you do need to watch is the damage starts falling off after about 60 meters, so you may not get a kill, uh, at the waist for 104. It may take two shots, but the upper torso or upper chest and head, you should be perfectly fine. But that's with the first 5 classes. They're officially finished. Now we're gonna get into the second half because classes 6 through 10 are where I start covering the situations that the first 5 actually don't. All right, so time for class 6, getting into it. This is my SKS class, and the easiest way I can describe this thing is pretty much my precision AR. I'm running tactical suppressor, Mypics in a light barrel, no stock, tactical foregrip A, and granulated grip tape. Now, the reason I like the SKS is that if I am accurate, I can two-shot people super easily. If it's especially to the chest, upper torso, I can one-shot people even if it hits their head. But that's why I'm not building this thing like some, super max mobility, crazy spam cannon with a semi-auto weapon. Every individual shot actually matters. And if my first 2 bullets connect with it's supposed to, the fight's already over. And if I'm getting flinched off target or just throwing my shots everywhere, I've completely wasted what actually makes this weapon good. Now, that's where Mypics in the light barrel and tactical foregrip A and granulated come in. I'm, putting a lot of the build into stability and hit flinch control because I want shot number 2 landing exactly where shot number 1 did. And interestingly, current SKS players are, especially looking at Reddit and COD Wiki, uh, they're still using tactical foregrip A specifically for that reason. The SKS doesn't really need traditional bullet spread help, uh, because the value here is keeping the weapon stable with, when somebody starts shooting back. But then I got no stock because I'm still me. I'm not sitting in the back of the map with this thing. No, like I love pushing, I love rushing, and I love holding positions. So no stock gives me back the mobility I actually need to push and reposition. And most of the build is saying make these 2 shots consistent, while no stock is, pretty much saying cool, but I'm not some statue. I'm not just gonna sit here and camp the entire time. So tax suppress keeps me quiet without turning into some ridiculous maximum range build, and that's where another important thing with the SKS, I'm not blindly stacking damage range just because I can. Uh, excuse me. Because, again, recent SKS players, they pointed out that traditional range often doesn't change the actual time to kill or one shot potential. So it doesn't justify building everything necessarily around it. Um, but with the rest of the class, is where it gets pretty interesting. Because I'm not using perk booster with this one. I'm running perk greed red, which gives me both lightweight and agile. Lightweight gives me the extra sprint speed for the moving around the map, while agile helps me with getting the weapon ready faster, especially coming out of movement. I've got quick fix, we already know. Um, should be good. Well, but my streaks are UAV, shock RC, and advanced UAV. I've got trip sensor, watching areas around me, and K9 unit gives me another way to actually hunt people down. Hardline helps me reach those streaks faster, especially if they're running, something that I forgot the perk, but especially if Shock RC cannot go find them, especially for the AI controlled score streaks, well, my dog should be able to still go find them. Um, but so you got to think about how this class is being used. Um, This class is pretty much being used as where are they, right? UAV gives me the general location. Shark RC can find somebody. Trip sensor tells me when somebody enters an area I'm worried about. K9 can go hunt and I could follow the K9 if need be. And if I reach the advanced UAV, now I basically know where the enemy team is moving. And once I have that info, I'm holding a weapon that can punish somebody almost immediately if I put 2 shots in them or even 1 shot to the head. But that's why I call it my precision AR. Instead of that, let's go ahead and hop into class 7. So moving into class 7, we got the HVK 30, and this is probably one of the best examples in this entire video of an attachment completely changing like what a weapon can actually do. Uh, so I'm running tactical suppressor, YKM combat stock, OWC tactical laser, large caliber ammo, and granular grip tape. And the centerpiece of the entire build here is the large caliber ammo. Now, without large caliber, the HVK starts at 24 damage and it fires about 714 RPM. It's fast, it's controllable, but the base damage itself isn't anything crazy. So you're getting that 4 to 5 shots, to be able to kill them even at base range. So um, large caliber actually changes that and it modifies the body part multipliers, right? It adds 0.9 to the head, 0.3 to the upper torso, 0.4 to the lower torso, 0.2 to both arms and legs. And, that's the kind of attachment I actually care about. I'm not putting it on because the damage bar gets bigger. I'm putting it on because it changes how many bullets actually need to kill somebody. With large caliber, the HVK can get a consistent 3-shot kill inside of its first damage range and even a 2-shot kill to the head. But there is a real trade-off with using large caliber. It increases my fire interval by 8%. It adds 10% vertical recoil and 4% ADS time and takes 7 rounds out of the magazine. So I'm not literally making the gun shoot slower and giving myself less ammo. Like I kind of am, that's exactly kind of what I'm doing. But again, I'm okay with that. And because I'm getting more lethality out of every individual bullet, that's kind of what I'm going for, right? But again, that explains every other attachment on the build. So YKM combat stock and tactical laser helps bring back the handling that we just lost. Gradually, it helps keep my shots accurate enough to take advantage of those stronger body multipliers. Tactical suppressor keeps me off the mini map and wasting another attachment slot trying to, stack a bunch of unnecessary range because we don't need that. And, you know, there's another benefit to large caliber. It cuts reload time by 18%. So it's pretty useful, especially for smaller maps, especially if you're going to be reloading more often. But the rest of the class goes back into aggressive survivability, restock to keep my stim and impact grenades, quick fix, alert, so I can keep people, know where people are around me. Perk booster gives me pinpoint that vulture and that silence. Pinpoint helps me stay on targets. And, that's especially important if people are in head glitches and you can't necessarily see them on that head glitch. Well, now you got an arrow and you just got to shoot below that arrow and you should be good, right? Vulture so I can keep getting health and ammo, and dead silence because if I need to reposition, it's harder for them to track me. But the part I really like about the class is kinetic armor. Um, because if I do have to push a position that someone's holding, then I pop it, move positions, they see me, they start shooting, I see them, I start shooting, and boom, they die first, right? And I don't know if I already said it, but this weapon does have a chance of actually, you know, landing a 2-shot headshot kill, 3-shot, uh, upper torso for the body multiplier. So if you're close enough and manage to hit them twice in the head, boom, they're dead. Especially even compared to SMGs, you're killing them faster with HVK with an AR than using SMGs. So that's where your shot actually matters. All right, let's go ahead and hop to class number 8. Class 8 is probably one of the most unique classes in the entire setup because this is the first time I'm running Overkill. Um, so I've got the 3-line as my primary instead of a melee secondary. I'm carrying the HSO. There's a very, there is a reason for that. Normally when I'm sniping, close range is the weakness. Somebody gets inside that range where I'm comfortable, and I don't really like using a sniper. I do like switching to a melee, and trying to get them, right? But there's also times where you can't. That's where the HSO does come in. But that's pretty much where I said, like, screw that. Why can't I have both, right? So for the 3-line, I'm running the Quicksilver silencer, 500 MN, excuse me, 500 millimeter MN custom, Zach custom MZ, FMJ, and pretty much the 5-round fast mag, 7.62 5.4 MMR 5-round fast mag, right?
But I cannot see. I'm legally blind.
The 3-line already hits hard, and what I care about with the setup is making the weapon fast enough that I'm not forced to camp and play like a stationary sniper. Again, I hate people that camp with snipers. If you have to camp with a sniper, you're not good. I'm gonna give it to you plain and simple. If you have to sit in the building the entire match, use a sniper, doesn't make you good, right? I get if you're going for challenges, for long shots, and that would make sense. But it happens too often to where people are just going for challenges. But the gun itself is actually extremely capable, and its mobility, can hold it back. So, I have FMJ on this, and that's important for how I play. If somebody ducks behind, thin cover, and I've already tagged where they are, then I don't have to wait for them to peek me again. I can just try to finish it straight through cover. So, like, I love the weapon. It's built around mobility. It's built around making it quicker, and you know, is built around making those wall bangs really matter. Especially people be like, "Oh, you're cheating." No, I just knew you were there. I saw you on the mini map, so I tried shooting through the wall and I got you. It's pretty interesting. So, heading into the secondary, this is where the class changes. I'm running HSO with choke, RTC extended light barrel, no stock, MIP laser, 5MW, and pre-insulated grip tape. And this is not ADS shotgun for me. I'm using this thing strictly from the hip, and that matters, a lot because the whole reason I'm pulling the shotgun out is I'm already close to somebody. I want my entire field of view to be open. I should be able to track somebody sliding, jumping, moving around, right? So choke extended light barrel and M5 5MW laser is what helps me with those close range shot, more reliable. No stock keeps the weapon mobile, and funny enough, this exact core, looking at Reddit and COD Wiki, choke extended light barrel, no stock, and 5MW have been used for hip fire builds for years, and it's still showing up in the 2026 builds and recommendations. So when I went in the testing area and I tested the what was it?
Uh-oh, retard alert.
The KRM, I believe, the BY-15 and the HSO. The HSO had the highest damage output of the 3 in my testing, and that's why it won the secondary slot. So, think about what happens when somebody tries to counter the sniper. At range, I've got the 3-line. You push, cool, I got the HSO. And the equipment is built around that exact situation too. I'm running concussion because if I hear somebody coming, I know somebody's around a corner, I can throw it, disrupt their movement, pull out the shotgun, push them instead of waiting for them to push me, and impact grenade gives me that lethal option. Lightweight is especially important because overkill means I don't have, don't have my normal melee option anymore. If I'm carrying two guns, lightweight helps give some of that mobility back. One trick that you can use is with the impact grenade. You pull the impact grenade out with lightweight, and you're still moving pretty quick, almost like you have a melee. I forgot what the percentage value is in that. But you're still moving fairly fast. Again, we have quick fix. We know death silence makes it hard again for someone to track and track where I'm going, and maybe we're repositioning. Kinetic armor. The whole reason why we're running that on this class is because the shotgun. If somebody is close and I need to use my shotgun, that's fine. I can pop kinetic armor, especially if 2 or 3 people are coming at me. Boom, slide, jump, boom, slide, jump, boom. And I still might have my kinetic armor. It's super, super, super good, right? So for streaks, I'm running UAV, CUAV, and RAPs. UAV obviously gives me info. CUAV takes theirs away, especially if I'm repositioning with a shotgun or running it behind them. They wouldn't know. And RAPs gives me that applying pressure across the whole map, especially if they are camping in buildings. So Class A pretty much removes the traditional sniper dilemma. If you stay away from me, I do have the 3 line. If you push me, you better hope I miss my shot. Sad part about the HSO, it is very inconsistent. If you're not directly centered and shooting them, there's a chance you can get 2, even 3 hit markers, and that's the part that does suck with this weapon. So if you are accurate, if you are good with it, then you will love it. If you miss your direct on shots, this shotgun will definitely punish you. Moving to class 9, we've got the Bal-27, and this is probably one of my most versatile AR classes. I'd pretty much pull this out if I want to do anything and everything with it, right? Now, I'm running Polar Fire S, Crown H3 barrel, Clarent Light Stock, SO Razor Hawk, Laser Sight, and or Laser Light, apologize, and the 60 round reload. So, excuse me. The Bal's weird because unlike everything we've talked about, its fire rate changes when you're shooting. So the first 4 rounds do come out slower. Then the weapon actually ramps up the longer I hold the trigger. So I love it. I think it's good, and you don't want to treat this weapon as something where you're just shooting 2 bullets, stopping, firing 2, stopping, firing 2, stopping. No, the whole point of this weapon is to hold down the trigger. That's why we have the 60 round reload, right? And giving myself enough ammo to take advantage of this sustained fire instead of reaching the faster part of the firing cycle and immediately needing to reload. So the rest of the builds basically turns this into the flexible AR that I can move around the map. Crown H3 is doing a lot of the work for the weapon, while Polar Fire gives me the suppression and helps the gun perform outside of close range. Now the Clarent Light Stock and Razorhawk Laser keep the handling from becoming too heavy, and I'm not the only person who actually landed on this exact combo. Looking at Reddit, I actually found another player running literally this exact build, and recent discussions about the build that I saw are still treating the Crown, Clarent, and the big magazine as core pieces of the weapon. So, but that's what separates something like my HVK. The HVK is like built around making individual bullets more lethal, and this is more staying in the fight and letting weapons, it's meant to sit there and you just hold the trigger pretty much. It's sustained fire characteristics, work for me. It's really, really good, and the rest of the class leans heavily into information because again, I've got restock, quick fix, because I want that aggressive survivability loop, and Sin gives me another way to again reset and re-engage. But instead of alert being my standard blue perk, I'm running that silence, and that's because perk booster is giving me alert anyways, right? We already know why. Then my boosted perks are pinpoint, recon, and again, we already know alert. So I'm getting help, not only tracking the person I'm actively fighting, I'm getting information through kills, through recon and awareness if players are trying to come up behind or getting close through alert. And again, that's where Hive comes in, so we can cut off corners, cut off areas that we don't have to look in. Thermite gives me another way to actually deny certain areas, because honestly, if someone throws a thermite a thermite in a doorway, realistically, you wouldn't want to push them. You wouldn't want to push to that point, especially if you're going to be low. Because they push to that point, you see the hit markers, you simply turn around, boom, 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 kill them, right? So yeah, that's what's good. So class 9 isn't like one, isn't built around one thing, and that's the whole point. It's the class I could pull when I don't know what's gonna happen in the match, and I don't know what's gonna demand from me. Uh, so I got mobility, sustained fire, info, area denial, everything, healing. It's basically like my 6 through 8 are specialized answers. Then like my Bal is, I can make this work anywhere class. So last things last, we're going to be hopping into class 10. And again, this video is long. So, but again, we have timestamps in the video where you guys simply can just go look at the pictures and, you know, just put the attachments on. The whole point of this video is just to watch gameplay and me explain each weapon. So enough of that. Let's hop into class 10. Finally, class 10. This class has exactly one job. The enemy team starts, filling the screen with score streaks, VTOL jets, attack choppers, yada, yada, yada. I want them gone, right? I'm one of the man of war with MIP light barrel, short, YKM combat stock, sleight of hand, OWBC tactical laser. This is the most important thing I build. Thermite, right? And normally I wouldn't build a man of war like this. This isn't supposed to be my best AR. I already have 9 other classes for literally killing people. So this one is built to kill their shit. Straight up. Thermite is what makes the man of war work here, and it continuously burns whatever I hit. And the attachment specifically increases its effectiveness against score streaks. It also doesn't care about, the flare system that score streaks use or stuff like that. That's why I'm running sleight of hand too. The magazine is only, I believe, 16 rounds. So if I'm dumping rounds into something like a chopper, I need to reload quickly so I can finish it out. But the man of war isn't the stupid part of the class. That's not the main part. My secondary is the FHJ, and this is where firepower support comes in. Normally, FHJ gives me 1 loaded rocket and 1 reserve. Firepower support gives me two additional reserve rockets. So now I've got 1 loaded plus 3 more waiting, and then it gets stupid ridiculous. This class is so overpowered, and it literally breaks the loop for score streaks. And I don't know if COD knows this, but if they end up seeing this, I don't know if they'll fix it. I don't know if players will be using this, but it's stupid overpowered. And that's where if you destroy an enemy score streak with that launcher, firepower support gives you that 70% chance to take their score streak and give it to myself. So imagine somebody works for a VTOL or a gunship or an attack chopper. I pull this class out, start weakening it with the man of war, finish off with the FHJ. You got a 70% chance. I get that, especially gunship. Imagine they work for a gunship. So I'm not sure why, but my audio ended up cutting out. So I'm just doing a quick voiceover just to be able to get this done. The video is already super long, so good thing there are timestamps. Now, all you guys really need for class 10 is just the man of war, thermite, FHJ, and firepower support. You have all those extra things to help, keep you alive, survivability, especially when you're standing there trying to take down a score streak. Now, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and make sure to turn on those post notifications. If there's anything I can do or improve on, let me know. I would genuinely appreciate it a lot, whether it's making different classes for different play styles, or making strictly S&D classes, or league classes, or hardpoint or objective classes, or overall any sort of thing, right? I would appreciate a lot. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching, especially if you sat all the way through this. This was a super long video. So, but again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.